On the workbench, Peavey Rockmaster. It's been sitting in a closet for 20 years. The first thing I noticed, that drawing of the wood, fret edges are very sharp. I'm going to take this fret file, I just sand the edge of the fretboard. Just make sure they're 100% flat and flush. Got a little bit of the drying out of the wood. And there's also, it seems to be a crack here. I want to make absolutely sure, and there's absolutely no movement whatsoever there on the body and here on the neck pocket. Like, I'm not being shy about making the crack worse, but I see absolutely no movement and that it's solid. I'm not gonna try and fix these cracks. Let's see how much bow there is in the neck. Put a capo on the first fret, hold down the highest fret, and then look for where there's the biggest gap, usually around the 7th fret. It's more than 17 thousandths, so it's a little high for where I like it, but it's a pretty straight neck. I think I want to tighten the truss rod just a little bit, just so it's nice and firm. Okay, now the truss rod should be doing its job. I'll tighten up the strings again. Now I'm going to use some feeler gauges to check the height of the strings over the 1st fret. Most of them are below 20 thousandths of an inch, but I need them to be below 17 thousandths of an inch. So I'm going to file the slots of the nut. I'm thinking I'll put 9 to 42 gauge strings on this guitar, but I'm actually going to technically set it up for 10 to 46 gauge strings. It'll still work fine with the thinner strings. I'm going to make sure it has a good smooth groove with an angle that breaks downward. The action over the 1st fret is about 17 thousandths of an inch, and they'll play with no buzzing. Next, I'll adjust these saddles to the right height so that the action of the strings over the 12th fret is about 4/64ths of an inch. So I've adjusted the saddles to where the high E is at 4/64ths of an inch over the 12th fret, and the low E is also at 4/64ths of an inch over the 12th fret. Now I'll want to play it and see if there's any buzzing. I'm surprised these frets are as level as they are. And just as I'm saying that, there's one bad fret. To remove the fret with the divot, I'm going to heat it up with a soldering iron. Oh, this fret is very hot. I'm going to pry it out of there with a dull butter knife. Slow and gentle, a little bit at a time. Got the fret out. I've got this new fret from another guitar. Put a sturdy base under it. You don't have to use the guitar, but I think it helps. Line up the first end so it's just inside the fretboard. Get it started, push down in there. Tap it in. I'm going to mark the new fret and the frets on each side of it. Wow, that took a lot of filing, but the new fret is level. I've adjusted the truss rod now so the neck is really flat, between 10 and 13 thousandths of an inch. I'll take the strings off, they'll be even flatter. So I'll level it and put the strings back on, and it'll have just that perfect amount of bow. They're pretty level already, so I shouldn't have to take off too much fret. Got the frets crowned. While I have the strings off, I'm gonna use this other file. This is a Gurion. Just take the corners off the fret. After the crowning, it's time to polish the frets with a fine finishing scrub pad. It's playing great, all ready to go. I can finally start the last step. So to set the intonation, I've got my tuner out. I got the guitar in tune. Here's the low E. And when I play an octave up on the low E string, this E note is too high. That means I need to adjust the saddle. I'll move the saddle back a little more. I had to move the saddle all the way back, but now the low E string is intonated, and I'll show you on the tuner. That's the open E and the octave up. It's also in tune. Once I've got the E string done, it's easier to do the other strings. All the notes will be in tune as long as the open strings are in tune. At the zigzag shape is intonated, it's set up. The frets have had a complete dressing. Electronics are checked over. Tuners are good. Truss rod's good. This Rockmaster is ready to rock.